Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Robert Donaldson, and welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets. And we are once again talking about college hoops, and we are going to be talking about Saturday's bets for the NCAA tournament. And man, it is hard to drop a better start to these postseason tournaments, whether it's the NCAA tournament or the NIT. We have been absolutely rolling, and on the first day, on the round of 64, we go 8-4-1. We hit Drake on the money line. We hit McNeese on the money line, and we nearly got a couple others, including UNC Wilmington. And heck, High Point put a scare into Purdue. I'm still surprised they didn't even cover that game, but man, really fantastic start. Couldn't have drawn it up much better than how it actually played out. And we're going to have 6 bets for you for Saturday's games. This is going to be in particular for the round of 32, and then I will have a second video for Sunday's games once Friday's games kind of set up those Sunday games. But I'm so excited to jump into those picks. But first, we do need to take a second to shout out today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't already signed up using promo code ROBDFB, I highly recommend you do so. You guys get a pretty sweet deposit match bonus for using that promo code. And if you do want to follow our underdog plays through these tournament games, make sure you are following me over on Twitter/X at RobDFB, because I do post our underdog slips over on there. But with all that being said, y'all, I'm ready to hop into these Saturday picks. All right, first up, we are taking a look at that first Saturday game between McNeese and Purdue. And McNeese is one of those teams that, are very, very athletic, but they're very, very small because they've kind of culminated a roster through high major down transfers. And, props to Will Wade. He's got this group humming. They're a very talented bunch. But what we did see against Clemson, that kind of proved to have some issues nearing the end of that second half when Clemson was kind of formulating a kind of a faux, fake type of comeback. They were getting a lot of boards and second chances on McNeese. And when you look at Purdue and how they handled High Point, very, very similar. They got a ton of offensive boards against High Point, a very smaller team. But, High Point actually has a lot more size than McNeese, and I really do think that's going to end up being a serious problem for McNeese, and in particular, I also think their jump shots and jump shooting abilities are going to get exposed against a Purdue team that can kind of outdo them in that area as well. And for that reason, I say we go ahead and lay the 5.5 points here for 2 units for our first bet here on Saturday. For pick number 2, we are heading out to a really fun matchup here between Michigan and Texas A&M, and we do have a ton of futures on Texas A&M. They also did cover for us against Yale as well on Thursday, and when you're looking at this matchup, I do feel like Texas A&M has the upper hand in a lot of different areas, and I think Michigan truly got exposed in that second half against UCSD, because what I've been saying all year is, I get it, Vlad Golden's a big guy and Danny Wolf's a big guy, and you have the height advantage, but sometimes when you run your entire offense through those two types of players, you're going to end up kind of feeling a little bit stagnant, and that's exactly what happened to Michigan. They just couldn't put the ball in the hoop, and eventually, their bigs kind of had to get switched out when one was on the floor, the other one was on the bench, and vice versa. And I do feel like Texas A&M is one of the more balanced teams that Michigan would even have to contend with in this entire tournament. And unfortunately, they are drawing them here in round of 32. And I do think Texas A&M ends up winning this game. So let's go ahead and bet on Texas A&M to win on the outright money line for 4 units for our second bet here on Saturday. For pick number 3, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Creighton and Auburn. And when I was looking at that Creighton-Louisville game, obviously we didn't have a bet on it, but I really love the prospects of whoever came out of that game to beat Auburn in the round of 32. And I was just looking for that motivational factor, that really good performance to go heavy on this bet. And Creighton absolutely delivered. I loved what Kalkbrenner looked like. I love what their guards look like. I think that McDermott's actually the better coach in this matchup, and they're getting 9.5 points here. For me, that's a no-brainer. I say we go ahead and take all of those 9.5 points for 4 units, and for an additional full unit, let's go ahead and bet Creighton on the outright money line here as well. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup here between BYU and Wisconsin, and both of these teams looked really impressive in round 1 in Denver. And when you look at BYU, it just felt like every time VCU was about to go on another run or kind of strung along some points in a row, BYU would answer with a 3, and that's been their MO all season long. But as you guys know, just based on how I kind of conceptually look at this tournament, you can't rely on that style single-handedly to carry you through round by round. And although I think Wisconsin's actually kind of a little bit in that running gun tier this season, I do feel like they have the capabilities to defend a team like a BYU, especially after BYU is coming off of one of those really good games. And for that reason, I say we go ahead and take Wisconsin on the money line here for 2 units for our 4th bet here on Saturday. All right, for our final bet here on Saturday, we are taking a look at another 1-8 matchup where we have Gonzaga taking on Houston, and Houston looked very, very good against SIUE in round 1, and so did Gonzaga. I mean, this might be one of the best 8 seeds that I can ever remember in my lifetime because they were drastically underseeded. This is also a top 10 team in terms of a lot of metrics that a lot of people value as well, so I have no idea how Gonzaga ended up on the 8-9 seed line, and they're taking on Houston here in round 2. And before the season started, these were 2 teams that a lot of people had in their entire top 5. I think this is going to be the game of Saturday, and Gonzaga, and I think part of this is because of the seed line, is catching 5.5 points. I think they have a really good chance to win it outright, but I do know that Gonzaga has been a very up and down team this year. Houston plays a very distinct style that could give Gonzaga some problems, but give me those 5.5 points here with the Zags for 3 units for our final bet here on Saturday. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and if you do want to show some love, make sure you drop a like in the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you comment down below. And if you guys do want to follow along with our NIT bets, be looking out on my Twitter/X page for a text format post of those. I might try to make a video, but I'm also trying to watch these games. I'm trying to get good sleep, and sometimes I feel like I'm kind of up against it, and the NIT is getting pushed to the back burner, which it's been a fantastic tournament so far. We've been doing really well in it, and I want you guys to take part in those bets. So I'm going to try to make videos down the stretch with the NIT, but if we don't have a video, make sure you are checking out my Twitter/X page at RobDFB to follow along with those bets in particular. But with all that being said, y'all, I appreciate you guys, and let's go ahead and keep killing it in the NCAA tournament as we approach here on Saturday and Sunday for the round of 32.